think I need to update my chat window here. I also need to get out of this window. Oh my god, that's super annoying. Okay. Oh, I'm so sleepy. Okay, I think what I need is a Google Doc, or I guess I could do this in OneDrive. Nobody look. Man, my mouse is slow. That's very annoying. All right, so hello, John's Pizza. Hi, Camden. How are you both? Oh man, that sure is my personal information that was just on screen there. That's not good. It's okay. It's genuinely nothing that. The fuck? Oh, that's why. Okay. I gotta get situated here. Hi, Michael. So the plan today is to do a bit of a lit review. I started my research for the Predator video a couple days ago. Picked up a couple books from the UT library when I was there getting books for dissertation. And I don't think they're necessarily representative of the research that's out there. But I do think that the book I got is representative of a certain kind of research. Certainly certainly a position that the research of this topic I don't know. I'm trying to like hedge my bets here and assume for the sake of the Academy that the research I have in this book that was published in 2004, I think, yeah, 2004. I'm so certain it's 2004, but I'm gonna cover my ass at least a little bit. 2004 is not representative of the kind of research that's been done on this topic, but I don't particularly I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope. I am hedging my bets, like I said, because I try not to be too pessimistic about this kind of thing. But the vibe that I'm getting from the sort of overview of the research that I've done so far is that the people who talk about this subject tend to be, surprising no one, tend to be men, tends to be boomers, and tends to be relatively supportive of uh, a certain kind of certainly a certain kind of status quo that like the Overton window on this topic particularly goes from, you know, center left neoliberal to hard right, which should surprise nobody. But it is a little bit surprising that, as far as I can see, this has been a topic that's been kind of ignored by the left, which is cool. It's like super awesome for me. The fact that so little conflict research, at least in anthropology, has been done on that, because there's certainly been conflict research on the left, by Marxists and anarchists, but they tend to be kind of, I mean, Marx was a really great sociologist, but he certainly was not an anthropologist. And anthropology as a discipline has been so colored by certain kinds of assumptions that the upper class, that the knowledge class has inherited from largely the Enlightenment, that were just sort of like cast adrift in a lot of these questions. I don't think that, I think a lot of people on the left don't realize how much that is the case, especially because, so much of academia is fairly openly leftist, and people will have very sort of radical Marxist professors, and then and because they identify as Marxist, it never enters certain people's minds that yes, even your Marxist professor is, like, grew up in a society that took certain very Western assumptions of how the world works. Marxism is a Western philosophy. Like these are all like products of Enlightenment thinking, and Enlightenment thinking can only take you so far. So sorry, just yeah, it looks like people, yes, filled you in. So here, and I'm sleepy today, okay, because I drank gin at lunch and I thought I could make it, but I couldn't. So I'm just gonna like kind of talk through some of the stuff that I've been seeing here, and I hope it's, I hope it's at least a little compelling. So I'm gonna get this guy Otterbein, get his thesis down here, and he's positioning himself against several other scholars, several other anthropologists. This guy Otterbein died in 2015, I think. He was pretty old when he wrote this. So I'm going to get his thesis down. I'm going to get the theses of all the people he's talking about down. I'm probably going to look up their books to make sure I'm representing them correctly. And then the task for today will be to go through each of their positions and explain why they're wrong. Or critique them, I guess, is the polite way to say that. Okay. So this book is called How War Began. Unfortunately, Otterbein is like a pretty good writer. He's pretty clear about his positions, and he doesn't really waste any time getting to them. Hang on. Oh, did y'all see? I posted about it on Blue Sky maybe half an hour ago. Let me see. I gotta be able to see the screen for this. Jonathan Majors and Zachary Levi starring as twins in a new action film for the Daily Wire, described as anti-woke sinners. Look at that. Oh no, you can't see it. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. It seemed like there was some speculation that maybe it was a joke, right? It's not. I'm so excited. This is gonna make such a good video. Oh, what a good time. It's like the Daily Wire exists purely for the benefit of my YouTube career. Bless their hearts. Where's my... Oh my god. Where's my... There we go. Okay. Military organization. So the way that Otterbein is breaking down his assessment of this situation is that we should be focusing on military organization. We should not be focusing on the motivations of the people who actually fight wars necessarily. That this is an organizational question, and I like half agree with that. But we'll talk about why in a second. So let's see. Military organizations are typically either non-professional, composed of part-time personnel, or professional, composed of full-time personnel. So that's his dichotomy. Warfare is either non-professional or professional, by which he means either. This is kind of. This is a variation of my warrior culture versus military culture dichotomy, which also seems to be replicated in a lot of the assessments of the people who talk about this kind of thing, which does feel like a what's the word I'm looking for? Validation of my suspicions. I didn't do any research for my Badlands review. It just, but it and everybody I talk about this with, it does like, yeah, Paramount was quartered. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care that nothing the studios do interest me that much. What's gonna happen is that they're just gonna keep making worse and worse stuff until the market forces them to make something different, and that was always what was going to happen anyway. This is not particularly a surprise to me. I don't care. I don't care that Paramount is going to acquire Warner Brothers. More power to their inevitable downfall, already continuing apace. Oh, no, she's all. Yeah, that just landed for me too. They're talking about what's going to make it an anti-woke sinners. So anyway, it does seem that, and everybody I talked to about this subject does seem to agree. Just on an intuitive basis, it seems reasonable to frame warfare and the people who engage with it as a dichotomous dynamic, right? That like people either go to war because they are paid to, or because they are patriotic, or are otherwise like sort of taking a principled stance on something. So Otterbein's, let's see, Otterbein's dichotomy is, maybe framing this in terms of dichotomy would be useful. Well, no, because, okay, here's what we'll do. Otterbein, dichotomous, professional, oh my god, have I ever typed anything in my life? Oh my god. Professional versus non-professional. Let's see what he says about this. Composed of part-time personnel, or professional composed of full-time personnel. So that's partially what's going on with his dichotomy. Professional, full-time versus non-professional, part-time. I already have issues with this construction. you at home can sit there and, as an exercise, start thinking about potential issues with this dichotomy of dividing people who go to war between professionals and unprofessionals. What do we think about that? Oh shit, I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot to turn on my window capture. Ah. Does liking murder count as a principle? Good question. That is a legitimately good question. Does liking murder count as a principle? This will become relevant, I think. We'll come back to this. Does liking murder count as a principle? So let's complete our good representation of Otterbein's argument here. Let's see. In small-scale societies, nearly every able-bodied man is, at one time in his life, a member of an active military organization, but that military organization may be involved in war only a few days out of the year, and perhaps not every year. Thus, for much of the time, these non-professional military personnel are engaged not in military activities, but in subsistence activities of their societies, such as hunting, gathering, fishing, or farming. On the other hand, in large-scale societies, the military organizations are composed of professional, full-time personnel. Professionals, in contrast to non-professionals, devote substantial time during early adulthood to intensive training, which may involve not only practice in the use of weapons, but also practice in performing maneuvers, blah, 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 blah. So, in keeping with his argument that we should be approaching this as an organizational thing, he's trying to... would it be murder at war? Wouldn't that just be killing or slaughtering? Depends. So worry research for a video or a dissertation. Worry research is for the Predator video. Hi Mike, yay! I'm glad you're here. If you have anything to to contribute, any thoughts while we talk about this, I'd love to hear them. Let's see. So Otterbein is saying that this should be addressed organizationally. That organizationally, when we break this down, we are talking about people who think about war all the time and people who think about war only sometimes. And that this further breaks down along lines of small-scale societies and large-scale societies. Already there are problems with this. With this organizational structure, at the very least, because Otterbein, I can tell already, is like sort of a very classically trained anthropologist. He assumes passively, and it's a game that anthropologists always have to play before, 15 years ago, where we assume correctly that there is no metaphysical central meaning to human life or the things that we do. There is no grand director leading us on down a particular journey. So God does not have a plan for us. So sorry, and so anthropologists all have to say that that's the case, and that we are just studying people as they are, from what we can see based on their behavior. And yet we all still have to pretend that it's that there is a grand plan or a journey or whatever. And you can see this in the way that they in the way that they talk about broadly non-Western cultures, non-Western European derived cultures. So he will say things like, let's see, I was reading some of his stuff about the Iroquois Confederacy yesterday. Let's see if I can just go ahead and find the... Oh my God, he mentioned it so many times. Oh no. Let's see. Yeah. And they're like, it's a rhetorical thing, but rhetoric is a betrayal of your thought process, right? Um, cooperating polities, there we go, can become a confederation. This higher order political organization may be a state, and then again, it may not. The Huron and Iroquois confederacies did not reach statehood. Like, it makes um uh and then he cites Angles, which is interesting. See, this is the problem, and I'm sure he cited Angles, thinking, see, the leftists will have nothing to say about this anti-teleological framework. Yes, thank you. Because I cited Engels, and Engels says that with increased agricultural efficiency, people are able to produce a surplus, and that gives rise to the cleavage of society into social classes. And we don't have any reason to believe that that is at all a deterministic feature of organization. Saying that the Huron and Iroquois confederacies did not reach statehood as if statehood is an accomplishment of some kind, as if there is a direct, like, as if there's any benefit really to statehood to begin with. I mean, like the Huron and Iroquois confederacies, like their encounters with statehood were historically probably through contact with places like Cahokia and the Aztec Empire, and that's a huge city that was in Georgia that also fell. Like there were kingdoms and like huge there's an objective natural definition. Yeah, exactly. Like there were, like, all these places knew about each other. The idea of a centralized state was not out of the realm of conception of the Huron and Iroquois, and their encounters with states were on the whole bad. Like they their encounters with the state, any kind of state, at the time, directly preceding their, I don't know, decline, maybe, I don't know, would have been the American government telling them, like, just like cheating them and lying to them and slaughtering them and robbing them. Like, uh, why would statehood ever be considered a positive development for those cultures? Hi, Valen Inspector. Otterbein. So I'm reading this book called How War Began. This is an anthropologist. This is published by Texas A&M, but I think he was at Rochester or something. And what we are doing today is a little lit review of what people have said about this topic and critiquing their arguments. We'll see. Let's see. I meant murder. Oopsie. I meant murder from my perspective of the dichotomy largely being a false one, rather than the soldiers. Oh, sorry, that wasn't directed to me. While I was in one of the platoons of my company, liked to chant, "Eat babies." Yeah, I wonder. I kind of wonder how many, because this is like a big thing that's being thought about right now, like trolling and what how new it is, and how much responsibility the internet has for the kind of, like, floating signifier irony that makes atrocity possible. But I kind of wonder how many atrocities in the past began as irony, because, I mean, surely the guys in that platoon were not actually eating babies or endorsing the idea of eating babies. It's just like kind of an edgy thing to say. No. I joined for pay, but felt patriotic when we stayed out of Iraq. Yeah. Canadian. Except we'd be very happy to know he's classified as a professional warrior by thinking about it all the time. Yeah. Would a better dichotomy be standardized versus non-standardized? No, I think. I think not. But we'll continue talking about that for sure. If you're talking about an imperial society like the US or the British or Roman Empire, having a constant foreign military presence is one way to move particularly violent members to a different place. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is one of the methods. It's interesting you brought that up. Yeah, this is one of the methods by which money is invented. Money is a really great way to get professional soldiers to get the fuck out of your out of your place without without them plundering everything you have, instead of just like stealing your food and raping everybody and, and like taking slaves or whatever. Just give them money. Just give them like little pieces of gold with the king's head stamped on it, so that they can spend it anywhere they take it, and then they'll just go to the brothel instead. And that's one of the ways money is invented. There's an objective natural definition. Yeah. As though there's an objective natural definition. Why is it that this also requires, and I'm sure he has a definition of state, but how, like, if the United States was truly a non-federalist, confederacy of states, would we still be a nation state? I don't know. This is not my area of expertise at all, and I have limited interest in in actually looking into it. Very good, Babadook. Dehumanization is the point. Yeah. Does Otterbein not care about the feedback loop between war and what he considers the complexity of society? Very good, Carlos. I think that is the immediate issue that jumps into my mind about this dichotomy, professional versus non-professional, is that first of all, this is not defined as I don't think this is usefully defined as on terms along lines of full-time and part-time. It is certainly the case that society's warrior cultures had positions of respect for warriors, a warrior class who were very much part-time. Those people, when they did warrior shit, were doing so for metaphysical reasons, not and social reasons, not just for immediate remuneration. This is not like when I think about professional versus non-professional, and this is something that goes along with his dichotomy. Also, I am thinking about, like, broadly, if I were to be as generous as possible to this construction, I would think of it in terms of basically principled soldiers versus mercenaries, right? That, like, some soldiers go to war because they're fighting for a cause, and other soldiers go to war because they get paid. And my understanding is that, like, at least like from what I have observed about the way the United States military behaves, is that we're in a, I don't know whether to call it like a state of transition, or I don't know like exactly how to characterize the dynamic happening in the American military, where the attitude is very much mercenary. Like, people join the military for material reasons, not because they're so excited to go like liberate Iraq or whatever. It's because they're going to pay for your college, they're going to give you health care, they're going to give you like veterans benefits. And that is a very different thing from going for matters of principle, right? So, I think he would say that the American military is comprised, because we are a complex society, or whatever that means. How does he large scale societies, whatever, composed of professional full-time personnel, and the average the average enlisted member of the American military would therefore be a professional soldier. And I think he would consider himself very like almost like almost cutting edge that way, because he is sort of saying that that there is a mercenary aspect to the way that we structure our military. So I'll give him credit there for sure. But the other problem with framing this in terms of professionalism versus non-professionalism is that people don't do professions just for just for material benefits, right? So this is and we'll continue this. We'll continue with Otterbein's framing here, but the critique here is that professional is not the same as non-principled. People, when we're talking about professions, just as often as not, we're talking about vocations. We're talking about callings, right? The things that people do in society are not simply for money. And whether we codify the things that people do in society into jobs or not, I think is kind of beside the point. So no, I do not agree with Otterbein that this is a matter of organization, and that we should be focusing on the organizational qualities of militaries in order to understand what the motivations of going to war are. I don't think that there is that much of a difference between professional and non-professional. I think that says very little about the kinds of people who actually fight in wars. So let's see what's going on in the chat here. Oh my gosh, a lot. Ironic atrocity distance felt possible. Yeah, that makes sense. Very good, Hampton. Happy you're here. Japan's attempted invasion of Korea in the late 16th century was largely motivated by a need for the re-established shogunate to get all of these massive unemployed armies out of Japan. That's interesting. I remember you talking about that, Babadook. Yes. I was looking for Barker analysis to read and came across a blog post that suggested the title might be making a comparison between Jesus and the soldiers. Interesting. It felt strange given who Barker is. Yeah, well, he has definitely written in sort of ideologically Christian terms before, so maybe instead of implying soldiers are Christ-like, the title might suggest that soldiers are actually more like scapegoats in the older sense of the word. Yeah. Sent out in the wilderness to die. I think that sounds more reasonable to me. Redundancy in that sentence. That bothers me. I think that sounds more reasonable. Sounds like he's thinking of war in far too pragmatic and industrial terms, exactly, which is very much a neoliberal mindset to have, that people do things for prime, that the behaviors that people take are organized along utilitarian terms, personally utilitarian terms. Your reading is fair, understanding that the U.S. military introduced a martial class that has a different life trajectory than civilians can access. Yeah. Thinking about standing army or non-standing army, but that has nothing to do with professionalism. Exactly. It doesn't. I guess I wonder to what extent it makes sense to confine military culture to the beliefs of soldiers themselves. It's definitely part of it, but the context feels absent in places. Yeah, I agree. I would never confine military culture to the beliefs of soldiers themselves. We'll get to that in a minute. There is definitely an organizational aspect here, but the thing that I think Otterbein is missing is that and we can go ahead and write this down too. Organization is not teleological or deterministic social organization is a product of the human mind. You cannot think about social organization without considering the motivations of the people who make them. And I think he would say, just to, get ahead of the the rebuttal here, I think he would say that he absolutely is considering the motivations of the people who make them. The people who make them are the representatives of the state. But that is also not deterministic. The state is this is the kind of argument that can only come from this sort of deterministic attitude toward the evolution of human society, and the idea that these are things that just happen, that when you get to a certain degree of complexity, you are gonna have states. Those states are gonna have bureaucracies. Those bureaucracies are gonna have to have some kind of defense against either against threats, foreign and domestic. So we'll see. Armies are not monoliths, most certainly. There's an important difference in the kind of military he's talking about in what we have and what, say, the British have today. U.S. service members mostly tend to 1 or 2 enlistments, 2 or 10 years the most, 2 to 10 years the most. A minority make their career and do a full 20 years. Yeah, exactly. So that's another weird thing here, So it's like this is the kind of thing that this kind of anthropologist does all the time, where it's like, so what? So if we're talking about soldiers in terms of professionals and non-professionals, and the difference between the two is at least partially, qualified by being full-time or part-time, then why does it make any kind of sense to say that that an organization like the American military is comprised of professional soldiers when so many of them have no intention of staying in the military their whole lives? It's like these are exceptions to the rules that these guys set up that they just kind of hand wave away because it complicates the the integrity of their argument. It's super annoying. UK's military is mostly lifers today. That's interesting. They all do. I assume you mean 20 to 30 and not 20 to 230. Come to think of it, it seems like you would only really need a standing army for imperialism. Oh, man, how about that? How about that, gun parade? My note-taking design depresses you a little bit. Why? Because they're so bad, or because they're so good? I assume because they're so bad. I take not really great notes. I have been doing dictation recently. Makes everything a lot easier. What I'm trying to get at is the endemic warfare. What is cheap? Academic burnout queen today. Yeah, that is me for sure. The endemic warfare aspect. Oh no, Babadook, I need you to explain what you mean by that, because I have thoughts about it that you may find interesting. One of the arguments that I plan to make in the Predator video is that I think that there's a really good argument to be made that the United States is a culture in a condition of endemic warfare. And I don't think that that's like I don't think that it certainly isn't like groundbreaking news that we've only spent like 15 years of our total 250 in peacetime, like not in active conflict. Like everybody knows that. Everybody knows that the U.S. is a warfaring country, but I don't think that most people think of the United States military activity as constituting endemic warfare in the same way that in the same way that that the Aztec Empire was a society that relied on war for its for its cultural development, in the same way that the Zulu have that kind, and there is a so basically what I'm getting at is that we are in a military society. We don't have a military culture. We're not in a warrior culture, but the American military itself does have a warrior culture nested within it. It's just that warrior culture is inaccessible to anybody who isn't already in the military and already in a very particular like sector of the military. And that society is deeply like disturbed and very, very vulnerable to all sorts of like I don't know, horrific degradations in morals and ethics, because in other warrior cultures there is an expectation of participation in developing that warrior culture from the rest of society also. And that's not the case in this country, is warfare endemic to industrial societies? No, it's not. Where are your sources? We're going through my sources right now, Hampton. Try to keep up. Even though America certainly relies on endemic corruption, which we call lobbying. Yeah, for sure. Which sector of the military had this military culture? Oh my God. I mean, JSOC, BORTEC, like all the sort of the tactical units, the like black ops, hard asses in the American military, where you're going to find your warrior culture. In keeping with that, getting to that position is where the soldiers, JSOC, the soldiers in JSOC and BORTEC and Black Ops and whatever, like this is, JSOC has a whole lot of swords on the logo. Yeah. That's the position where you get to stop looking like quite so much of a robot. You get to self-determine your aesthetic a little bit more. And so, I don't think, because of that, I don't think it's a mistake that the kind of like tactical bro aesthetic that's emerging right now is based on those units. It's not good. Special operation more descriptive term. Black Ops more full on CIA shit. Thank you. Yeah, Ghosts video. Yes, I watched that a few days ago. It's very good. Am I willing to include police forces in warrior culture? Kind of, yeah, to an extent. They certainly intersect. A lot of cops are veterans, and combat veterans at that. So, there's definitely going to be crossover. I've read Fort Bragg Cartel. No, but I own it, and I will be reading it soon. Yeah. Where like society's influence on criminality sounds interesting. Oh, all organized crime syndicates are warrior cultures. The Mexican cartel is a warrior culture. The mafia is a warrior culture. The Yakuza is a warrior culture. Yeah, the existence of modern police is also somewhat confounding. They're just more troops, but society counts them as different. And the reason society counts them as different is because essentially what and cops hate this. Cops hate thinking about this, and so they never do. But they're just bureaucrats. Okay, bye, dude. See you in an hour. Cops are bureaucrats with guns. That's it. And it seems like other countries kind of understand this a little bit better. That's why a lot of other countries don't give guns to their cops. Because if you're gonna have bureaucrats roaming the streets, maybe it's better that they not have guns. But even then, they're still allowed to beat you up. So Hey, jinx. Okay. Organization is not teleological, not deterministic. That's why this professional, non-professional dichotomy is incorrect, I think. Yeah, okay. So here's another paragraph from Otterbein. The vast majority of small-scale societies have military organizations composed only of non-professionals. These military organizations are likely to be fraternal interest groups, localized groups of related males who can resort to aggressive measures when the interests of their members are threatened. Fraternal interest groups constitute the vengeance parties that engage in feuding in small-scale societies, as well as in modern polities, and in small-scale societies, they form the backbone of military organizations. So are we saying that organized militaries don't have fraternal interest groups? Get fucking real, dude. You know? If I'm not mistaken, most of the major umbrellas of organized crime are old noble families that turned to crime in modernity. Yeah, I think that's true for, certainly true for some organized crime organizations. Cops are bureaucrats with guns sounds pro-cop. Why? I don't like bureaucrats either. Nobody likes bureaucrats. Ba-da-da-do. Okay. Warrior traditions. Hang on. I want to check something later in the book. Ah, here we go. The thesis. Okay, great. We should definitely look at that. In fact, let's look at that first. Let's read the thesis of Otterbein's book here. His contention is that warfare developed along two separate paths. The hunting of large game animals was critical to the development of the first path. Early hunters working as a group in pursuit of game sometimes engaged in attacks upon members of competing groups of hunters. They devised a mode of warfare based upon ambushes and lines. At the origin of the second path were foragers who did little hunting, but depended largely on gathering for subsistence, became sedentary, and then domesticated plants. Intergroup aggression was absent among these early agriculturalists. I don't know about that. You may want to revise that assumption, bucko. The first states developed only in these regions. But once city-states arose, a mode of warfare based upon battles and siege operations sprang forth. The two paths at times intertwined when state-level societies and bands of hunter-gatherers came into contact. How war began describes how each path arose and what the consequences were. Now, here's the part that's of interest to us here. Katerina Sforza. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. No, I do not know who that is. Explain her to me. Scholars who study war are at war with each other. One faction, which I have called hawks, believes that warfare arose millions of years ago and has characterized humankind in all places ever since. The other faction, which I have called doves, believes that warfare arose only about 5,000 years ago when the first states developed and then spread to peaceful hunter-gatherers and agriculturalists. The positions of the hawks and doves are shown in figure 1.1, a diagram that relates warfare intensity to time. Yeah, here, I'll show it to you, but it's not really important. That's the figure. The two curves are far apart since the hawks see war as early and intense, while the doves see war as late and becoming intense only after about 3000 BCE. Can y'all hear Rita snoring? My God. Mm. Hell yeah! Shout out Graeber. Uh, 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 Sounds like pizza. Oh, why? Seems like a name that was made up just to make fun of me. I know that's not the case. Um, the thesis for how war began is diagrammed in Figure 1.2. The two paths for the development of warfare are far apart in a totally different sense. They begin at early times in different locations. Warfare intensity increased early, then rapidly declined in both the New and the Old World with the extinction of large animals. In those areas where there was little warfare, settled gatherers began the domestication of plants and became agricultural villagers. That's also just a like, we know that's not true. There's just a fundamental misunderstanding and misreading of the evidence that we have. And to be fair, this was in 2004, and our knowledge is a little bit different now. But this like deterministic idea of a straightforward evolution of society, where, you know, once you settle, you must domesticate plants, and once you domesticate plants, you must want to increase your yields as much as possible, and that there's only one way to do agriculture. And once you discover agriculture, then you're on your way to a state, obviously, because everybody's trying to get rich and everybody's trying to get as much as they possibly can, because everybody is a individual, rational, utilitarian act. Like, this is dumb. This is dumb. And it is also like there also is just sort of a the sexism is baked into this as well, right? Because, like, gatherers, agriculture, what is the difference between these two things? The difference is that women gather and men do agriculture. um, Human beings, you know, as soon as we settled anywhere, even temporarily, once we you know, any society that that comes up with like a you know, a systematized way of being, like a proper way to be a human, which is what a culture is. And you know, even if you are nomadic, even if you're not staying in one place at the same time, like, even those people have some kind of agriculture more often than not. That's what permaculture is, you know. Plant a tree, come back 5 years later, it'll give you fruit. Do you think they just forget where those trees are, you know? Yeah. She's in the late 15th and early 16th century northern Italy, for a very warrior society kind of family. Combat veteran. Her armor is still on display in the Museum of Milan. That's sick as hell. That's cool. Sorry, my nose is itchy because I'm allergic to alcohol. Yeah, Dawn of Everything. Good book. Girls not even allowed to farm, bro. Fuck. Well, like, why do we think it is that almost every deity of agriculture is female? Come the fuck on, you know? It's amazing how these scholars will just bend over backwards to deny evidence of women having any influence in society and its development at all, you know? Oh my god. She's my favorite historical figure. Family name is just an Italian word for force or strength. The patriarch of the family rose from obscurity and poverty in the Milanese army and replaced the city's ruling family by marrying their last heiress. That's some Game of Thrones shit. Yeah, anything with culture at the end has to be done by men. The Greeks had a beautiful twink who did nothing but rage bait. Dionysus. Warfare increased. Oh wait, hang on. More people were competing for game with better weapons and hunting tactics. Once the extinction of many large animals began, the early hunters turned to small game procurement, a form of hunting that had begun earlier, and developed a greater reliance upon gathering wild plant food. Drives me crazy. The frequency of warfare declined. I believe it did so. Okay. It took hundreds of years of domestication, perhaps 2,000 years, for the major crop species to evolve from their wild ancestry, longer in Mesoamerica, sooner in the Fertile Crescent. If warfare occurred in a region of emerging domesticated plants, the domestication process would stop because people would be forced to leave their fertile agricultural lands and move to locations suitable for defense, but not optimal for growing plants. Man, this is why interdisciplinarity is so important. Graeber and Wengrow actually addressed this whole domestication of plants thing in Dawn of Everything. I remember this very distinctly, that like all you have to do is go ask a botanist how this works, right? They cite in the Dawn of Everything many studies that have been conducted many times that show the domestication process of a wild wheat or corn to a domestic wheat or corn can be accomplished within like 20 years. I'm sure that it's been done over and over again. You know, this is not like none of this was a mystery to these people. You know, and that knowledge does not just vanish. Even if you are forced to leave your agricultural lands and moved it somewhere else, like you're gonna take your stuff with you. You know what I mean? Like there's the bean I grew outside last year that I made 2 bowls of soup with. They were so good. It's called Trail of Tears, Cherokee Trail of Tears black bean. And the reason it's called that is because the Cherokee sewed that bean into their clothes when they went on the Trail of Tears and replanted it in Oklahoma. This is what people fucking do. Like, use your fucking head. How do people, like, how would you react if this happened to you right now? Do you think it's out of the realm of conception that people 2,000 years ago might have had the same thought? My God. Anyway, okay. I gotta look up these, is it Catalina? It's hot in here. Katerina. Sick. I'm gonna read about her later. Sick. Where hunting remained strong and warfare continued, plants were not domesticated. Yes, that is true. That is a true state of fact. It would be nitpicking for me to pursue this, but I will anyway. Hunting and warfare, these are, as far as I can tell, these seem like kind of mutually constituting ideas, specifically because they have, or that at least they acquire metaphysical meaning, right? So like the Navajo were waged a lot of war, were nomadic, they were hunters, and they were raiders also. If you are nomadic, you're not relying on your locality to feed you, and you're not doing agriculture in that way. And so what the Navajo would do is they would raid people like the Hopi, or the Acoma, or the other sedentary tribes in the area. There were established civilizations. There were what's the word I'm looking for? Sedentary, I guess. There were established sedentary civilizations all over the Southwest, and those people, in a sort of what's the word? I'm so sleepy. where like you define your culture um based upon opposition to your neighbors. What is that called? Schismogenesis. In a schismogenetic way, the Dene or the Navajo, whatever, either way, the Dene would raid these sedentary, peaceful societies, and they would steal all their sheep except for like 4, so that the people that they just raided could breed more sheep for them to come back and raid again next year. Like, yeah, and this is, you know, sort of like wrapped into the culture of both people. And I'm sure they would have developed into something else, given enough time, a different kind of relationship. But the idea that it simply must be the case that that the Dene are working toward a statehood, and like this is it's so stupid too, because this is a fundamentally unscientific way to frame things that you see all the time from these 20th century social scientists, where like they will talk about evolution in a way that is completely unscientific. You know, species aren't trying to do anything. In the same way, even if you were to consider evolution as a force even if you were to consider, which is wrong, the development of human civilization along evolutionary terms, it still wouldn't be scientific to say that civilization is trying to do something. Evolution doesn't try to do anything. There is no intention involved in evolution. This is just whatever works, you know? DJ Peach Cobbler, that sounds familiar. Yes, I do know of this person. Less work, more sleep. I promise you, I sleep a lot. I'm sleepy because I drank gin at lunch. I gotta turn on my window unit. One second. So hot. Hunting as a tradition is a very important class difference between the US and Europe. That's for fucking sure. Yes, in Europe, hunting rights have traditionally been bound up in property and nobility. It's kind of the same relationship that the US has with horses now. The Mayflower Pilgrims took over a village that had been lost to disease, took over the fields, and just thought they were super good at making communities. Yeah. I never drink at lunch, but today I did. I thought I'd do something fun for myself, and it came back to get me. Okay. Now let's get to these other... We've talked about Otterbein enough. Let's talk about the scholars that he is positioning himself against. There we go. The key to understanding warfare contrasts with a recently developed approach that emphasizes the warrior and the warrior tradition rather than the military organization in which the warrior operates. Okay. By stressing the individual combatant, both writer and reader can lose sight of the central role that military organizations play in their society. So yeah, somebody said this up front. I think it was Babadook, who's no longer here for now, at least. That like, surely we don't want to just like over focus on the individual as the operative, engineer of what a military is. Yes, I completely agree. So does Otterbein. I think he is correct on that account. During the 1600s, my hometown of Gloucester, Massachusetts, was completely abandoned for like 20 years because the colonists just couldn't make it. Yeah. So then for the U.S. government, a couple hundred years later, to expand westward and excuse their behavior by saying that they're teaching the natives to farm is just like disgusting. What a ridiculous country. This place fucking sucks. This place is so cursed and haunted and bad. Oh my god. Very good, Hampton. I agree. I agree. Best of luck to you. Mm, 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 mm. Oh my god. So a history of warfare. John Keegan, A History of Warfare, is something that I'm gonna have to look up here in a second. God damn it. Eek. There we go. Sorry, I'm typing with one hand. In A History of Warfare, John Keegan also focuses on the warrior, identifying 3 military traditions linked to the individual. But firstly, this is what anthropologists, 20th century anthropologists love to categorize. All humans do this. There are 3 categories of this. There are 5, there are 5 stages in the progress of human civilization. Andrew Sanders' discussion of the anthropology of warriors admirably sets forth the underlying premise of the approach. And this is so I agree with Sanders here. This is very much my, this is basically my description of a warrior culture. Warriors are persons whose vocation is warfare and who engage in the actual physical activity of fighting. In contrast to soldiers, and in particular to conscripts, they fight for personal glory. They fight as individuals rather than as members of disciplined military formations. Warfare is a way of life to warriors, and its values underlie much of their behavior. Further, according to Sanders, the warrior is central in the military organization of some societies. I need to figure out what book this is from. 1 second. Yeah, this guy. And again, like it really does seem like most of the people talking about this this subject just like are just sort of chud-like, here's in this note he says the term primitive war would fit better here, but in anthropological circles it has become politically incorrect in the last 25 years. Even the terms native peoples or non-literate peoples may be politically incorrect by the time you read this book. Historians continue to use the term primitive warfare. Okay, bud, whatever. Sanders, right? What's this book called? Warriors, Anthropology of. Okay. Oh, it's in the Encyclopedia of Violence, Peace, and Conflict. But I don't want to find that book. Okay. Encyclopedia of Violence, Peace, and Conflict. Supposed to be in italics. Thank you, Benjamin Hanley, 2507. Uh, did the sound go out? It shouldn't have. Sorry, yeah, it was just that I was reading. I think was what happened. Da, 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 da. Ooh. I kind of wish I was a New Englander. It sounds like an interesting place to be from. Yeah, I need to do a better job at marketing that podcast. Um, we just recorded the last episode of the first season. Yeah. There are two kinds of societies, the cheesemakers and everyone else. Oh my god, my nose is so itchy. Yeah, it's weird too, because if anybody should be adept at social constructionism, should be anthropologists. No. Uh Okay. Hawks and doves. Anthropologists who believe that society was always at war, that war is endemic to the human condition, and people who believe that war only emerged when the state emerged. The problem with both of these positions is that neither one of these things is actually an explanation for how war emerges. How does war emerge from a state? Does a state, like a state, just makes itself? I suppose. Dumb. What's interesting to me is that nowhere in this book, I checked, does Otterbein refer to these in terms of Hobbes and Rousseau, which is like kind of the standard analysis for how what he's describing as hawks and doves emerges. That like the Hobbesian attitude is that human beings are fundamentally bad, basically, and fundamentally conflicted and chaotic, and they require basically like a firm hand of the state to bring them into order. That is what Leviathan is about. And then the Rousseauian approach is that human beings were always peaceable, lived it. This is the noble savage trope, that human beings are completely peaceful as an animal, and it's only until we came up with the idea of personal property that we really went off the rails. Like as soon as we set up fences and started imagining each other as competitors, that was kind of the beginning of the end, and there's no way for us to get around that. All we can do is manage that sort of fallen state, and both of these attitudes are dumb. They're stupid. Like Rousseau made that construction in order to illustrate a broader point. He was not like he certainly wasn't offering up that construction as a conclusive explanation for why people do what they do. Hi, Luke. Anyway. Okay, so what we were talking about Sanders. Yeah, Sanders describes warriors in much the same way that I do. But I wonder, I do want to look up what his parameters for that are. Because personal glory is almost as vague a construction as professionalism, right? Like, personal glory of what? Exactly. Like it can be personally glorious to have, I don't know, to have many wives as it is to have 0 wives, depending on what society you're from. You know what I mean? Oh, Leviathan and Hellraiser. No. So like none of these are ideas that we can talk about in the absence of the specific culture we're talking about, you know? You ought to see Mr. Fish over here hard at work on his bubble nest. Can I zoom in at all? Yeah, I can. Go on, make another bubble. I saw you. You were doing it. I distracted him. Okay. Woo! Ah! Anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Competition between warriors for glory. Greater achievements. Kind of individual who invites death. In aristocratic states, warriorhood was an occupation closely associated with the ruling class. It involved a strong hereditary aspect. Only members of the aristocracy possessed special armaments. Blah, blah, blah. Warriors often engage in duels. In hunting and gathering bands, dueling is non-existent or rare. In some tribal state-level societies, duels occur between elite warriors from two political communities, each representing his military organization. So warriors step forward from the group to take on a challenger. These are the warriors Sanders describes in detail. Finally, in recent centuries in Western civilization, duels take place between civilians within a political community. Yeah. Happened before the Civil War in Congress all the fucking time. Although Warrior is considered as a whole, so he has nothing to say against Sanders, at least so far. Although Warrior is considered as a whole have much in common, it is possible, as John Keegan has done, to distinguish different warrior traditions. Okay, so John Keegan. 3 traditions. 1. Oh. Okay, so Otterbein front loads this with his rebuttal. Yeah. Man, if this is representative of the quality of research done on this subject remaining to this day, then I'm gonna have such a good time. I'm gonna be just cutting edge in this field. My God. All civilizations, says Keegan, owe their origins to the warrior. Okay. Although there are 3 distinct warrior traditions, there is only one warrior culture. Its evolution and transformation over time and place from man's beginnings to his arrival in the contemporary world is the history of warfare. Otterbein says, I believe, however, that the history of warfare should not be restricted to the study of warrior culture. Hard agree. Yeah, the socio-political organization of a people must be studied because it generates and nurtures the military organization of that people. Big fat agree with Otterbein on that count. It is so ridiculous to frame this in terms of like, well, you see, all military societies are at their core a matter of warrior culture. It's like saying that, Donald Trump is not styling himself after a king because he was elected by the people. In a political situation and an electoral context that does not allow all its people to vote, and that restricts their vote, in fact, and that only has about a third of popular turnout anyway. Reverse engineering military societies in that way is absolutely absurd. Primitive warfare is Keegan's first tradition. For Keegan, its study is instructive because it shows that war-making man, quote unquote, has the capacity to limit the nature and effect of his action. The most important device for limiting this conflict is ritual, which defines the nature of the combat itself and requires that once defined rituals have been performed, the contestants shall recognize the fact, my nose is so itchy, oh my god, of their satisfaction and have recourse to conciliation, arbitration, and peacemaking. Oh my god, my nose is so itchy. Note the similarity between Keegan's description of primitive warfare and the characteristics of the duel. The view that primitive war is ritual war is an incorrect interpretation. Yes. Very good, Otterbein. Thank you so much. Okay, so primitive warfare. 2. This is, oh my god. Are you fucking serious? There we go. Now this one. Man, if I don't end up getting a faculty position, I'll be so sad. Given the quality of the scholars who end up getting faculty positions and writing books about this shit. The second tradition, warrior tradition, Keegan's second warrior tradition, is Asian war making. Just Asian. In this Oriental tradition, quote, 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 evasion, delay, and indirectness lead to a concept of military restraint. This view is seldom accepted by military historians. For example, Robert O'Connell argues that the most lethal warfare stemmed from attacks by mounted warriors on agricultural villages. So that's pretty weird. And then 3, Keegan's third tradition is the Western way of war. Western way, of war. So, just to recap here, if you are a human being at any point in history that engages in any kind of organized violence, you are either engaging, you have 3 options for how to describe yourself: primitive, Asian, and Western. So that's something to think about, which comprises 3 elements. The first element appeared, Keegan writes, when the Greeks in the 5th century BC cut loose from the constraints of the primitive style, with its respect above all for ritual in war, and adopted the practice of face-to-face battle to the death. The second element is the ethic of the holy war. Yeah, holy wars never happened before the Crusades. Everybody knows that. While the third element is the perfection of the gunpowder revolution in the 18th century. Keegan's identification of this third tradition is taken from Victor David Hansen's study of Greek hoplite warfare, with its emphasis on the decisive battle. Recently, Hansen has expanded his idea. He relates Western military powers to the democratic and constitutional governments of Western nations from Greek to the present. Yeah. Or orc, elf, and human! Yes! That's exactly it! Holy shit. Orc, elf, human. Oh my god. You fucking cracked it, Mike. Holy shit. Yeah, he did say 18th century, yes. Yeah, I know. Keegan's God bless Otterbein. He is a scholar of integrity, at least. Keegan's incorrect interpretation of both the warfare of non-literate peoples and the warfare of the Middle East and Asia leads him to an optimistic conclusion. Future peacekeepers and peacemakers have much to learn from alternative military cultures, not only that of the Orient, but of the primitive world also. There is wisdom in the intellectual restraint and even of symbolic ritual that needs to be discovered. A correct interpretation of the 2 alternative military cultures would, I believe, have led him to a pessimistic conclusion. I don't know that pessimism is necessarily like a called for in that way, but yeah, that's dumb. That's fucking dumb. Was this book written? This was How War Began was written in 2004. Although the bulk of the writing on the warrior and warrior traditions considers the combatants to be honorable men and the traditions to include restraint, at least one military writer, Ralph Peters. Okay, so here's our third guy. Ralph Peters. Ralph Peters treats warriors with disdain. They are, he writes, dishonorable men who kill and like to kill even women and children. Peters describes warriors as erratic primitives of shifting allegiance, habituated to violence with no stake in civil order. Unlike soldiers, warriors do not play by our rules, do not respect treaties, and do not obey orders they do not like. Peters describes 5 social pools from which most warriors emerge: the underclass, young males deprived of education, entrepreneurs of conflict, patriots, and failed military men. The entrepreneurs and the patriots, he believes, pose the greatest danger to our social order. The others are swept along by the tide. So this is the neoliberal opinion. This is as far left as we go, and it's still very centrist, because the argument that Peters is making... Well, wait this a second. Yeah. So Otterbein describes this actually quite well. I think his critique of this is also my critique. The warriors that Peters describes are a product of the modern world. They are not the non-professional and professional military personnel I described earlier. For Peters, it is the professional soldier who is honorable, not the warrior. So the only morally valid, the only morally positive form of warfare, according to Peters, is military culture, where there is no glory in war. There is no personal fulfillment in war. War is a sacrifice. War is something that people, that people must understand as involving nothing positive or nothing developmentally positive at all, either individually or societally, basically. Yeah, and so like, I mean, note how this construction very carefully frames any kind of, grassroots violence as automatically aberrant and unnatural, right? Any kind of insurrectionary violence, any kind of revolution, essentially, is just fundamentally bad. That's why he describes a warrior as, derogatorily, as people who do not obey orders they do not like. It's like, that's not a categorically bad thing. Sometimes you will be given orders that you do not like for very good reasons, and you probably shouldn't follow those orders, in my opinion. As Otterbein notes here, the terrorists who hijacked and crashed commercial airliners at World Trade Centers, blah 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 blah, are an example of Peters' warriors. One assumes that Peters would also consider, Iraqi insurrectionists warriors as well, because they're fighting against the United States, even though the United States invaded their country. Is there any kind of so basically what he's saying is that there is he is taking fully accepting the idea that a state is the entity in society that has a monopoly over violence, and saying that's a good thing. The state is the only entity that should have a monopoly over violence, Control I know the hotkey for italics. Loaded gonna make a question. It's an eccentric position to take, I think. Where can honor enter into an act unredeemable by positive ends? Yeah, indeed. Okay, so Ralph Peters. Hi, kitty. The only legitimate violence is violence enacted by the state. Militaries who defend this legitimacy are made up of people, of soldiers, who are defined by their sacrifice above all, and who, in the course, of this sacrifice, have their personalities crushed. A personality, an individuality, is, in fact, the sacrifice at hand. As a soldier in a legitimate state military, you are giving up your right to have a personal opinion or agency over your own actions. You are a bot of the state. Enjoy your benefits. Thank you for your service. Well, I think the critiques for the last two are pretty obvious, but I think hang on. I think it'd be worth looking for what these guys actually are saying. So let's try and do that. Is Vietnam the ultimate modern day comparison for this idea? Which idea? Which particular idea? Oh my God. I usually type on my MacBook, and so my manual keyboard here with its big ass keys is just like a bitch to type on. I'll go to Anna's archive if none of these work. Ugh, fuck off. Creating a distinction between warrior soldier is kind of silly to me. Either category can act morally or maliciously for those motivations. What motivations? In particular. Whoa. Oh, this must be a reprint. I am begging men to stop. From primitive man in the Bronze Age to the end of the Cold War in the 20th century, Keegan shows how armed conflict has been the primary preoccupation throughout the history of civilization and how deeply rooted his practice has become in cultures. Keegan is once the most readable and the most original of living military historians. A history of warfare is perhaps the most remarkable study of warfare that has yet been written. Fuck me, God. Oh, interesting. The author attempts to refute Clausewitz's dictum that war is a continuation of policy by other means. I'm very interested to hear how he makes his case for that. That's worth finding the actual book on its own. The entire narrative is localized to necessary unconvincing. On the one hand, if Keegan asserts Clausewitz assumed the existence of states and status, this is just an Amazon review. Let's not give this too much credit, but states and state interests, then the reader would not expect his famous dictum to apply to pre-state societies. The polemic would thus be gratuitous. On the other hand, if one believes it is vital to show that war is not a continuation of policy for pre-state societies, other problems are blah 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 blah. Let's go find the book. The warrior soldier distinction seems sound to me as enlarging or diminishing agency in the face of larger powers. Yeah, there it is. I'm inclined to agree with that. Why is this in Comic Sans? What the fuck is happening? Who did this? Who is responsible for this? This is the just with whatever this this weird synopsis is saying here, like the problem that I see in all these scholars, and this is why I'm gendering this so hard, and this is why I'm begging men to stop. The thing that makes Otterbein like maybe the best of all I've encountered so far, even though I still don't like him very much, is that these guys are so obsessed with either legitimizing war or delegitimizing war. And Otterbein is trying not to do either of those things, but a negative space still has a shape, and and he is still positioning himself as counter to these other guys. He says, I will be describing non-professional and professional military organizations, not warriors per se or their traditions. The latter approach tends to glorify war, which I have no intention of doing. Who gives a shit? That's not good scholarship. Like ignoring a central aspect to what makes, like ignoring a central pattern to how war emerges in societies just because it frequently puts you in a position to glorify war is it sounds like your problem, big dog. Like you need to get a handle on that and try not to glorify war if that is your intention. Facts don't care about your feelings, etc., etc. Comic Sans is easier to read for people with dyslexia. Oh, okay, I'll accept that. People can harbor both motivations, and you'll find people who are more one or the other within the same small unit. So yeah, this is an interesting distinction to follow, or perhaps an interesting, what's the opposite of a distinction? Vagueness? No. I don't know. There's some kind of definition here that that is getting occluded. Matt says, and I agree, I think, that the warrior soldier distinction is referring to an enlargement or diminishment of agency in the face of larger powers. Mike says people can harbor both motivations. And you'll find people who are more one or the other within the same small unit. And that is certainly the case, yes. But I think what it is for me, tell me what you think about this, Mike, is that the people in units who have this kind of warrior mentality, Captain America, for anybody who's seen or read Generation Kill, like, they're delusional is the thing. Like they are claiming an agency and a sovereignty that is just fundamentally not there, because there is a chain of command, and because you have to do what your officer is telling you to do, and there's no way to get around that, and there's no way to appeal to it, and there's no way to the thing that really distinguishes warriors from soldiers to me is that warriors bring their identity home, soldiers don't. And you can certainly find a lot of soldiers in the American military who will try to bring their identity home, and that doesn't really seem to work particularly well either. It seems like a lot of those guys are very disturbed and whatever. So I think to complete that definition, a warrior brings their identity home and is recognized by the rest of society. People can also change. In my experience, a bunch of people in my platoon were dead set on doing one enlistment and then had kids and re-enlisted, usually non-combat job. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, kids, man. I'd like some kids, but sure. God damn it. Delete. I need some money so I can have some babies. God damn it, did I do it again? Unbelievable. Open library. Maybe this will help me out. For fuck's sake. Okay, published in 1993. That makes a little more sense. Recognized by society, maybe, but primarily recognized as themselves, by themselves. Who? Warriors or soldiers? Want to get out so I could go to college and do drugs, which I did. Yay! Happy for you. Very, very happy for you. Oops. So that military identity that you're talking about there, like, this is what I mean. Being recognized by the military and being recognized by people in the military is a different. The military is not society. That's the distinction that I think kind of defines the way that military action and culture functions within American society. Maybe broadly, Anglophone or like Western European influenced society, but most certainly American society is that, like, the military kind of exists to allow the rest of society to pretend that violence isn't real, right? And the disambiguation I'm trying to make, the distinction I'm trying to call to attention here is that in a warrior culture, your warrior status is recognized by all of society. And specifically by your warrior status, I mean, like, your hi Cece, your command over violence is recognized and approved of and celebrated by the rest of society. And that is not the case in this country. In fact, the failure, well, I don't call it a failure, the fact that that's not the case in this country seems to be the source of a lot of right-wing ire. People like Pete Hegseth want a warrior culture instead of military culture, partially because they think it is right and proper for the American people to look toward service members as objects of celebration for their prowess in the battlefield. That's what defines a warrior culture, I think. That's not the case here. Yeah, see, this is good work by Otterbein. Ritual warfare, an illusion. Historians and political scientists as well. This is a very like Graeber-esque position to take. Good job, Otterbein. Historians and political scientists as well accept the notion that warfare of non-literate peoples is ritual warfare. This stance places them with the developmental theorists, for ritual warfare is believed to be a stage preceding true warfare. Ritual warfare, the same argument is made by political scientists, blah, 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 who distinguishes between proto-war and qualifying war. Ritual warfare is thought to be non-serious, involving few casualties, to be rule-bound, and to be viewed by the participants as a game. It is a variant of the peaceful savage myth. Oops. Yeah, according to the inventors of ritual war, combat in non-literate societies consists of two lines of warriors facing each other and throwing spears or shooting arrows. Projectiles fly until someone is wounded. With that injury, the fighting stops. Such a battle is like a boys' snowball fight that ends when one boy is hit in the face. The origin of the notion of ritual war lies in research done by anthropologists in the classical period, 1920 to 1960. It appears directly drawn from scholars who constructed developmental theories. The earliest statement I can find is from Elliot Chappell, Chappell? C-H-A-P-P-L-E, Chappell, I think, and Carlton Kuhn. They assert that when war occurred among tribal level societies, it was ritualistic, game-like in nature. When the first wounding the battle would stop. Anyway, that's stupid. I'll just leave it at that, I guess. Okay. Why? What is a Mobi file? What is a... What? Can somebody tell me what a fucking Mobi file is? Is that the only kind that they offer? That sucks. Let's look at Encyclopedia of Violence, Peace, and Conflict. Oops. Volume 2. This one's not a Mobi file, whatever that is. Oh, yeah. Share with you a thought that my anthro military dork friend came on the Badlands video. Yeah, please do. I think the myriad testimonials of my friends who went to Iraq and Afghanistan stopped me from ever believing that our military is doing anything well or competently. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to believe. From the GWOT onwards, Special Operations Forces are, in my opinion, very much warrior subcultures with personalized, slick equipment, inventive, and often stupid ways to accomplish operational goals. Yeah, I think that's true. Yes, Matt. That is also how I see it. A Mobi file is a form of ebook. I'm not fucking with that. What? Come on, man. Fine, look for an app in the fucking store. Get. Mojo Jam! Beginning the 90-minute commute home. Blessings. CC continues. Ways to accomplish operational goals and a stronger focus on individual skill, ability, and glory. Hence the whole idea of the cult of the operator, which is the way a lot of the modern right look at soldiers in general. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah, that was, fuck's sake. It's just giving me the cover of this book. Why would anybody fucking want that? Ah! Sorry. It's okay. I'm alright. Yeah, that was definitely the most predominant critique, polite always, of the Badlands video, is that within the US military there is certainly a warrior culture, but oh my god. But as I've been talking about, it is, if that's the case, then the American military is just simply a different culture from the rest of the United States, and that I think is a huge problem, and that is what I will end the Predator video talking about. Like, oh shit, we have a serious fucking problem. Oh my god, it's driving me nuts. Okay, maybe I just can't get this book. Kind of seems like the sort of book that might be available online through the library. Let's find out. Oh my god. Fuck off. Yeah, CC, I'm reading your comments. I think that where my friend would disagree is that our pop culture is preoccupied with soldiers as warriors because that's more fun than soldiers as robots. Is it? Well, I mean, like, so it seems like the distinction that we're talking about in pop culture is really a difference between war movies on the one hand, which are generally about soldiers, as we've defined them in the past hour or so, and warriors on the other hand, which are mostly action movies. Like, war movies, American war movies, are pretty seldomly pro-violence or pro-war, hey, look at that, fuck yeah. In fact, they're frequently pretty explicitly anti-war, as much as you can be. So I don't know that I agree. I don't think that it's necessarily the common opinion that being a soldier is super cool and awesome. Where that attitude comes from is action movies and video games. That's what I think. What's this guy's name again? Andrew Sanders. Fuck. How does this work? Oh, interesting. Index. Fuck. Warrior. Still taken aback by emblazing the gunpowder revolution in the 18th century. Yeah, well. What are you gonna do? This is the state of academia. force and violence, warrior and pacifist. Here's another dichotomy, potential dichotomy. Yeah. Warrior motif allows or requires the use of force as a sort of sacred obligation, which is a crossover with soldiers as I've been defining them, I guess. There is a sacred obligation. It's just not, it's just like expanded a little. Okay, so it would appear as if this is not the book that I'm looking for, which is a shame. Well, I could just go to the Oak Street Library, I guess. No, this is the same book. What the fuck? What the fuck? What if I just... Andrew Sanders. Oh, did I end up talking more about the definition of endemic warfare you're using? Well, the definition anthropologically is just kind of like what you like look. It is a ritual warfare is what endemic warfare means now to anthropologists. That like, and like what we're talking about here is this is sort of a sort of a resolution of the issue that Otterbein is proposing in this book, with the failures of calling ritual warfare something that primitive people only do. And ritual warfare is like is like a game. It's not really serious. It's just it's a way to approach diplomacy by, you know, providing this sort of veneer of violence so everybody can tell each other they did a good job or whatever. Endemic warfare is more, it can be very serious. It is the thing to keep in mind, that like endemic warfare is simply warfare that is wrapped up into the metaphysical assumptions of the society that you're talking about. That like, we go to war because the gods decree it, you know, and not just because we have a problem to solve. And I think that there's a pretty good argument to be made that the United States is in such a position, actually, you know. Use Google search used to get better results. Oh, file type PDF. I forgot you can do that. I'm bad at Googling. I mean, I found it, and it doesn't look like it was the right source, which is, oh, second edition. Maybe this is better. Wow, that was exactly what I needed. Holy shit. Catescopo. In with the win. My goodness. Hey! Warriors, Anthropology of 2432. Big fucking book. No! No! It's just the... Oh my god, this sucks. Well, then what? Encyclopedia of Violence, Peace, and Conflict. There it is. Maybe if I go to the contents here. Surely it's not a different Encyclopedia of Violence, Peace, and Conflict. Right? This is volume 1. This is also volume 1. It should be the same. What? Okay. Okay. It's okay, everybody. I'm just an idiot. It's fine. But then why? This does look like a good book. More or less. It does include Sanders, and that's a shame. Oh, Dave Grossman. I have his book, On Killing, it's called. That's another thing I need to read for this video. Maybe it's volume 2. This is crazy. There's got to be a better way to do this. Is there a search feature? Search in this publication. Sanders. Why is this happening to me? Yes, I'm looking for warriors, anthropology of. Shouldn't be so hard. Oh my god. Spell it right, maybe. Next page. Get the fuck out of my way, ad block. Not now. It's not the time. Why is this happening? Warriors. Anthropology of. What am I missing? For funny, the seminal book on the philosophy of war was written by a Mr. Kurtz, yeah. I was able to get it through Anna's archive, but you have to just get the specific article. Oh, okay. Well, sure. Let's try it that way. I kind of thought that Anna's archive was just for books, but this also makes sense, I suppose. Let's put a couple of quotation marks around this motherfucker. Root Suit Riot, could I get that link, please? Babadook, my friend. This has nothing to do with the dissertation at all. Yeah. Oh my god, my chair almost fell out from under me. If I was a real warrior, I wouldn't have these problems. It's hard to get out of memorize. You know what? Let's try and just Google this on its own. This is becoming absurd. Wow. I can read it in Korean. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind DMing me, I'd be alright with it. I mean, you could just like put it in the chat. I don't think that would, you know. I think that would work. I feel. Hey, it's Otterbein. This looks translated. But it also looks relevant. DM'd. Oh, okay. Thank you. Bop, 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 ba do do do. Yada da da. Hooray. See how my tabs are piling up? This is how it happens. PDF. As God intended. When I was in the military, I hated when the higher ups tried to instill this idea that we were warriors. I was not a warrior. I was skilled labor, and it was a job. I did my job and then went home. The warrior types got in the way of that. The system is too big to handle too many individuals out to pad their own evaluations. Every officer comes in, they want to reinvent the wheel. They're like cogs with the wrong number of teeth, and they slow down the machine. Yeah, that's interesting. Yep. Everybody hates officers. Here we go. Sanders. Mana, military associations, TP, Sansa. Okay. Warriors as a term is used here. Vacation warrior. Warrior deeds, outstanding bravery, battle honors are given to successful military units in the services, where personal glory, individual prowess that becomes subordinated to wait, what? Let's back up here a little bit. It's not possible to make absolute distinction between the warrior whose vocation is warfare and the soldier whose profession is warfare. And today's professional soldiers still demonstrate aspects of warriorhood. Personal honors are awarded for military deeds of outstanding bravery, and battle honors are given to successful military units and services. But okay, there we go. But personal glory and individual prowess have become subordinated to military strategy and technical efficiency. And it's that strategy and efficiency that I argue constitutes military culture as distinct from warrior culture. In discussions of primitive societies, the term warrior is often applied to any fighting man. Particularly true. I'm just going to sit here and read this. It'll be riveting content, I'm sure. Hello, William. William, it's as if you haven't seen my Badlands review. See, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about how these sort of 20th century anthropologists refer to social organization in ways that require them to be like, require them to reject evidence that is right in front of their faces. Bands and tribes are egalitarian forms of political organization that lack formalized political hierarchy or social division into dominant and subordinate political groups. Okay, fine. Leadership is based on achievement and is for limited purposes only. The power an individual can acquire depends on his ability and is influential rather than coercive. So, isn't that like democracy? You know? Isn't that just democracy? Anyway. Very good, William. You know what? It is not going to be like Avoiding demands of warriorhood. Yeah, okay, anyway. Okay. I'm satisfied with having found this. I do want to find Keegan's book, though. And then I will... History of Warfare. Oh. Right. It was that. You know what? I want to search... I want to get rid of these. Get rid of those tabs. What's this? Oh my goodness. Get rid of those tabs. Look up. If I look up warrior anthropology, will it give me anything? Probably not. This search function is not the best. The Return of the Warrior. Combining anthropology, imaging advances, and art in reconstructing the face of the early medieval skeleton. Very interesting. Kind of tangential to my purposes here. Bushido as allied Japanese warriors, anthropology, and fascist Italy. Cultural magazines. Whoa. Warrior women of British anthropology, available online. That seems maybe relevant, maybe a little bit. Maybe relevant a little bit. National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City is one of my favorite places on earth. If any of you get a chance to go there, do so. It's so good. It's amazing. Warriors, anthropology up. Available online. Are you fucking kidding me? Andrew Sanders. There it fucking is. Jesus fucking Christ. Teach me to not have faith in my university. Oh my God. Honor, Shame, and Warrior Values. The Anthropology of Ustasha Violence. Sure. Anthropology. Friends, not foes. Boost warriors' success. Okay. The Yaqui warrior myth. Representations of Yaqui in the 20th and 21st century Mexican and Chicana literature and theater. That's kind of interesting. The Yaqui, I'll show you all. The Yaqui do one of my favorite tribal dances. Don't look at my search history. Yeah, Yaqui do dance. It's so cool. This does look better shot, but we're just gonna have to go with this one. Oh fuck, I don't have my... Put my headphones in and we'll pivot here to Civ 6 and listen to Civ 6 here anyway. Can you guys hear this at all? It's so cool. They like recreate the deer hunt, and the deer is the main character. Mis primos los yaquis. In school, I was in the Navy. We didn't have them. When I went off base with the Marine, I had to sign him out with his command like he was kindergarten. He signed out of school. Oh, that's funny. Or means of war assigned to Lord of the Rings races. Darkstar Mike came up with that. And I thought it was just right. Yeah, it does go hard. This is interesting. I'll watch that later. I saw a performance of the Yaqui deer dance at the Baile Folklorico at Bellas Artes in Mexico City. It was super cool. It was so fucking sick. We had to perform one of those dances in school. Really? That's so cool. Let's see. I saw a video of a little kid doing the Yaki deer dance once. It was so cute. So cute. I have heard decent things about that book, Aztec by Gary Jennings. Look at that. It's so interesting. Video of Jacob going to school. Let's watch that next. Movie night. Yeah. Let's check out this one and see what it's about. It looks a little like overproduced to me. Makes me worry just a little bit. And indeed, it does seem kind of overproduced. I just want a video of the dance that's like... I want something well produced but not overproduced. Yeah, this is my that's the costuming choice that I think is most striking when they're like when they cover the dancer's eyes. I think that's super interesting. What's the intent behind the deer dances? I mean, it's fairly ritualistic. It's a you know, ensure a good hunt dance is my understanding. You're invoking the spirit of the deer that you're looking for, which is, you know, they're imitating the you know, the affect of deer, how they look at stuff, how they run, how they check shit out. Like, it's so interesting. Sometimes they'll reenact the killing of the deer, you know, and the dancer will be like shot and die. That's the version of it that I saw it in Bellas Artes. It was super interesting. Was that dog bark Russ or was it part of the video? I genuinely can't remember.
It's Christmas Day.
That's quite enough of that. Let's play some Civ 6 and then get the fuck out of here. I didn't accomplish that much research, but I did get some input from you people, so that's been helpful. Thank you very much for that. It is a sort of animistic communion dance, yes. It's a sign of both respect and ownership, let's say. Which is what communion is, I guess. Link to the book I read about Katerina Pizza, did you say? In the Discord.
From the first
Awesome,
stirrings of life beneath water, to the great beasts of the Stone Age, to man taking his first upright steps, you have come far. Now begins your greatest quest. From this early cradle of civilization.
Let's go ahead and update these titles here. Civ 6, Japan. We'll just do this for another half hour or so.
This domestic.
Okay. Fuck it. We'll get the experience. Oh, next turn. Okay. Do you know if Graber says anything about gift economies in the Kula Ring? I'm so certain he does. In fact, let's oh my. I haven't looked at The Dawn of Everything in quite some time. Let's just go grab it and see what the index says. Cooler is Marcel Mauss, if I'm remembering correctly. It's not Marshall Solins. Marshall Solins did other Polynesian stuff and wrote a book with Graeber. Boop. Let's see. Nothing under Kula. There we go. Marcel Mauss. 107, 108. Nothing there, just speaking in sort of general positive terms. I gotta read this book again. It's so good. I'll check 173 and 175 and let's see. Maybe gift economy would be a better... Nope. Well, he does write positively about Marcel Mauss, but nothing particularly about the Coolering that I can see. So, wasn't that fun. Oh, but you asked specifically about gift economies and not specifically about the Coolering. Well, yeah, I mean, I like Graeber would probably say that most economies that aren't specifically a capitalist economy are gift economies, which I think is like a huge oversimplification. But like on my part, not of his, he'd probably say it in a lot more eloquent manner than that. But that essentially is what like pre-market societies or, you know, societies that don't centralize markets, that's essentially what they do. It's just kind of like a I'll get you back kind of thing. And that's how societies construct themselves, is based on mutual care, not mutual exploitation. And that is functionally a gift economy. Recently realized I had David Graeber sitting on my shelf for a while now. Ooh. Oh, Pirate Enlightenment. Yeah, interestingly, that's one of his most boring books, in my opinion. But, yeah, check it out. It's still good. This is not as, you know... because it's like, it's based off his field work, and field work is very dry, you know. Killing of a I have seen Killing of a Sacred Deer, yeah. No, the kitty's here. She thinks dinner time should be earlier. Okay. What am I doing? We'll just fortify. Arr! I think let's just kick it here. And wait for Kyoto to become ours again. Oh, that's right. Last time it was super annoying because I was 1 point shy of a golden age. I just couldn't get there. Motherfucker. Just stay put. You guys stay put. Oh my god. We're getting wrecked. Give me a warrior, if you please. Oh, you can go. I'm gonna own this whole island. I love this map already. I wonder, is this indeed an island? I mean, it would make sense. It does. Civ 6 does tend to do that kind of thing. This is super annoying though. All I want to do is get over to this tile here. Sure, go there, I guess. I'm bummed I missed the research half of the stream. Oh, just go back and watch it. It was quite boring, I assure you. It was mostly me unsuccessfully looking for PDFs. Could get some practice. Go on. Go on. Get on. Get on there. Oh my god. I'm so excited that I own this island. That's amazing. What a great map. I should be Japan more often. I should have pursued them with the slingers instead. It was a mistake. Oh, good. Perfect. Tim Ballard be like. Let's see. I asked because I want to argue in my essay. Oh, what the fuck? Shit. Oh, I fucked up. That's because I want to argue in an essay, when society fails to maintain a gift economy, anthropologists consider it detrimental to communal relationships. Maybe that's not their perspective. I would say, what would I say? I do not think that is how most anthropologists would frame it, because I don't think that, because like a gift economy is sort of codified, you know? And I don't think anybody's made that particular argument. Although, you know what? If that's the argument you're looking for, it's going to be in Debt. It's not going to be in The Dawn of Everything. One second. Oh, yeah, here we go. Let's see. First mention is page 36. Let's go. In most gift economies, there is actually a rough and ready way to solve this problem. One establish a series of ranked categories of types of things. Spheres of exchange. Blobbity blobbity. Did y'all hear Rita groan just now? My goodness. Like she pays rent. I miss Graeber so much. Part of the problem is that the extraordinary place that economics currently holds in the social sciences. In many ways, it's treated as a kind of master discipline. Just about anyone who runs anything important in America is expected to have some training in economic theory, or at least to be familiar with its basic tenets. As a result, those tenets have come to be treated as received wisdom, as basically beyond question. Yeah, anyway. Okay, Vast anthropological literature on gifts, for instance, starting with the French anthropologist Marcel Maus's essay The Gift in 1924, is long gift economies that operate on completely different principles than market economies, but in the end, almost all this literature concentrates on the exchange of gifts, assuming that whenever one gives a gift, this act incurs a debt, and the recipient must eventually reciprocate in kind. Much as in the case of the great religions, the logic of the marketplace has insinuated itself even into thinking of those who are most explicitly opposed to it. As a result, I'm going to have to start over here to create a new theory pretty much from scratch. So I think the way, if you want to make this argument, Carlos, I think you'd be best served by looking at Debt, this book, and seeing what his theory is, which I don't remember because I read this book like 4 years ago, and it's no longer at the front of my mind. Let's see, the last explicit mention is on page 108. But yeah. It's not specific enough for your purposes. Competitive gift giving, equivalent gift giving, heroic gifts, honor and gifts, loans versus gifts, obligations and gifts. Yeah, you want to... There's also... I know in this book he also talks about a sort of like base communism, you know, that all of us share, and that's what I think I think is where I would oppose the way that you're constructing that questions, because I would say that it's basically impossible to not maintain a gift economy because that sort of like gift economics, I guess you could say, is sort of endemic to the human condition, you know. If you see like an elderly person just like eat shit, you know, just like fall on the ground, then your impulse is to go help them, right? You know, you're not gonna stand there and and like figure out what you can get out of it. You know, that's not what people do. So, and that's sort of the core of my optimism, you know. That's just not an impulse you can successfully breed out of people forever. Anyway. Fuck you, Hampton. Hater anthropology up. Big fuck ass book. This book is, ooh, it's so satisfying. It's so meaty, and everything he says is just like it's meaty, but it's concise, you know. He's got hella notes. That's the notes. All the notes are important. God, he was just such a good writer. Okay, let's continue here. Woo 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 woo. Woo 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 woo. He's written a few big fat books. God damn it. I want my technology boost. I know it's finished in 4 turns. I don't care. Go over here. Oh my god. You're gonna fucking die. Just go back home. We gotta deal with all these barbarians. That's a good way to rack up some era points. Aw, thanks, Frederick. That is literally continuous hater speech. Oh yeah. Graeber was a world-class hater. And we're all better for it. Yay! My city. Hooray! An error point out of nothing. My favorite kind. Let's make... Well, there's a builder right there. Awesome. So let's make a warrior. And you... What happened here? What's going on here? Just stay there. Pummeling my first scout. Whatever. He's fine. Celestial navigation before embarking. Okay, allows all land users to embark. Yes, that one. Mariana mentions the Aztecs at least once every stream. They are an excellent reference. Not unlike Japan, not unlike China. It's kind of surprising to me that people don't reference the Aztecs more often when they're talking about like civilizational development or whatever. Oh my god. What's going on? Which victory type is my favorite? I don't know. I'm in it for the... I'm just in it for the vibes, man. Probably culture. Maybe science, I don't know. Choose production. Give me a Nutter Warrior. Oh my god, 70 turns. Fuck off. That sucks. The scout's just gonna have to hang tight then. We will go deal with the southern barbarians first. And you... maybe we should just harvest this rice. I think that's the right approach. I think that's the play. Then we can buy Tokyo this tile. Get that jade. I played a fuck ton of Stardew Valley. Do. One of my friends once asked how an advanced society like the Aztecs could have developed such a rigorous culture of human sacrifice, which was to her counterintuitive. I also don't think it's that counterintuitive. It's just religion. Religion makes people do all sorts of fucking wacky shit. You know? And also, when your religion is dependent on warfare, and they start to sort of feed each other in that kind of feedback loop. That doesn't seem that crazy to me at all. It's not, again, like, it's not that, that fundamentally different from the idea of sending a bunch of young men to go die in the Middle East for oil. You know? Like, is the oil doing anything? No, not really. We don't really need it. But we need to go kill people and die because it feels meaningful. That's it. It's just a matter of feeling meaning. Yeah, as if America didn't routinely sacrifice old, sick people and soldiers, yeah. And poor people, lest we forget. And why do we do that? Because we need to maintain this fiction of market logic. That's it. And that, to me, is just as irrational as... you know, that kind of wide-scale human sacrifice. hate you. Let's die. America just has better marketing or propaganda. I mean, the marketing and propaganda for the Aztecs was pretty, you know, packed pretty tight. Like, I'm sure many, if not most, Aztecs thought that, like, the behavior of the Eagle Warriors was absolutely correct and laudable, and they would find favor from the gods. Requires technology? Why? Why? How much food are we dealing with here? 3 food. Well, that's not bad. What kind of... 2.5 food surplus. Well... Tokyo has 0 Mendes, apparently. Let's just go ahead and buy that tile now. Oh, we can't. Great. Gotta wait for 1 more turn. No, 3 more turns. Fuck that. Oh my god. Ah! Fine, make the farm. Spooky Teaser's thinking of Apocalypto. It's the Mayans. It's not historically accurate, but it is a pretty good movie otherwise. Oh, I maybe shouldn't have done that. Hampton watches The Pit, but he won't watch Shoresy for me. He hates me. Okay, bye Hampton, love you. Yay. Woohoo! Hmm. Whoop. Oh dear. Go there. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. They're in trouble. Big trouble. Mm. Oh no! Oh no! Hampton's right. I suck at this. Yeah, I take gameplay tips. I don't really give a shit. I play for the vibes more than the strategy. Although I am not terrible at this game. This is, it's not the highest difficulty, but it's the next to highest difficulty. Hurry! Hurry! Back them up! Maybe these guys should head down there too. I should upgrade them. With all that money I don't have. Okay. Wasn't meant to be. Other warrior. And you guys move there. Smaller! My civilization's AI dropping nukes yet. This is very early game. Oh my god. I'm in danger. Press Y, it shows your tile yields. Oh. Wow, it sure does. Okay, that's good to know. That's a nice hotkey to have. I find it clutters the map to show the yields, but that'll definitely be useful at some point. Thank you for that. Oh my god. Fuck's sake. Okay, we're gonna have to shore up our forces here before we head back down there. Hopefully we're gonna settle cities, yeah, definitely. A big thing. Damn it. We're just gonna go chase that builder around, I think. Everybody pay attention. Don't let him get away. Do, 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 do. Woo, 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 do. Fucker! God damn it. Hearts of Iron. I don't think I've ever heard of that game. That sounds great. That sounds super fun. Oh my god. Oh, fuck. Okay.
That's the positive aspect of trade, I suppose.
It's super weird and deep. Okay. Maybe after the dissertation's done. Yeah, make me an archer. Oh wow, you can play the anarchists in Spain in Hearts of Iron, but it's so hard because you have to fight both fascists and commies to survive. I need to get over the anxiety of learning all the texts. Cece, how dare you troll me? How dare you roast me in this manner? It'll get done. I've got 3 full single-spaced pages of solid manuscript. I've only been working for like 4 days. Crusader Kings I have heard of. Okay, maybe these guys need more farms. Maybe I should just go ahead and use this builder. Yeah, my first deadline is mid-March. I have to send my advisor, like, something by then. Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm watching my fish. He's so cute. Wish I was a well cared for bed of fish. Seems like a good life. We did not decide on a name for fish. I'm still receiving submissions. Yeah, smaller. You didn't see in the Discord server? Why couldn't we stay in the water and just stay fishies? Yeah. Hector is the front runner. But I kind of like a noun name for fish, you know? I had a some kind of damselfish. What kind of damselfish was it? I don't remember. But her name was Ice Cream. No, her name was Sunday. Because that's what she looked like. Oh, I think it was Ice Cream, now that I'm thinking about it. Ice Cream the fish. She was a good fish. Pescadito. Give me another warrior. The shark from Jaws. Phineas. Velen Inspector, what kind of fish did you have? You're so cute. He's a very pretty boy. Maybe they should just work on a settler forever. That seems fine to me. Charge! Ah, fuck. No! Fine. They can have the fucking Arctic wastes if they want. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Good, Spooky Tease. Let me know what you come up with. Good night. Yay! Get fucked. Name your fish stick. I don't think Puggles is a bad name. I think it's a great name. But you could do worse. What the fuck? Oh. Never mind. They just got the gold from it. It's okay. I am gonna need them to fuck off, though. I can stay put. Let's see. Give me like, give me a builder. Dolby Digital. Dolby is not a bad dog name. I gotta say. If well, it's gonna happen either way. Jesus fucking Christ. It's fine. Oh, we gotta go deal with this. Look at that. That can't happen. Oh my god. Jesus. They're gonna be in trouble soon. What the fuck? Dare I? Yeah, better. Mistakes were made. Something of a Pyrrhic victory. Oh, well, promotion. Never mind. As long as these guys don't get there before. Uh-oh. God damn it. Oh my god. Okay. Why not? my god. Oh my god! Ah! Problems. Problems. It just seemed cruel. Seemed like the game did that to me on purpose. Let's upgrade these guys. Move these guys. And you can go ahead and attack these guys. I really want to get over here before they turn into a city-state. Badly. Badly I do. Oh, God. Let's just fucking send it. Let's just shoot for the moon. Oh shit, I forgot to move these guys. Oops. Oh my god!
I cannot imagine any condition which would cause a ship to founder.
Sure, let's do astrology. And that means that our scout here can cross the narrow sea. Oh, maybe not that direction though. That was stupid. Why would you do that? No, go here. Ah! Might make it. It's like Civ, but Warhammer 40k. Maybe. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna get these olives.
With a strong, well-educated.
Big fat problems. He hates it, Precious. Go get them cows. I need more warriors. He is a cutie, isn't he? His tail's gonna stay nice and short so he can swim properly. Yay, finally some fucking success. Rojito. Cute. What do you mean? It's my very earnest Gollum impression. I don't like this. Cows. Disperse clan! Woohoo! Oh. I have only seen the memes about Punch the Monkey. If someone wants to fill me in, I wouldn't be mad. That would be okay. New barbarian outpost, you say? Oh yeah, that is pretty that is pretty close.
A physician without a knowledge of astrology. Well, at least it's a scientific city-state. Oh my god, again? It's already time for a water change in this tank. Bunch of tannins from the driftwood. Uh-oh. Oh, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't panic. Don't panic. It's okay. How many turns left in this era? Okay, 34 and 94. I will most certainly make it this time. Let me ask one thing. To pay a tribute of respect and admiration to the once desired Matterhorn, before his head has lost the last rays of a sun departing to gild loftier and more distant ranges.
Yeah, I did see the little stuffed animal. Oh, but one of the memes I saw was about how a real monkey hugged him. Aww. So he's maybe more accepted now? Is the hope? Tommy and Rita are playing. It's very cute. Ruru. Give me a minute. That's our next problem right up here. This cannot happen. Those diamonds need to be mine. Let's get in on this. Ah, what? What? My builder? What? Oh, that's so stupid. Well, I guess I only had one charge left, I think. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. And be back on Monday. Maybe I'll get a touch more work done. I can just quick save, right? Yeah, quick save. Okay. See you all Monday. Have a good weekend. Oh, poor Punch. I'll look up his story. I'm meaning to anyway. Okay. Bye-bye.